Hey everybody, it's Joe Parvey.
And it's Jasmin again. Hi.
We're in the high-end room here at House of Stereo, and these are the Ultime 2s by Stenheim. At Xpona this year, Stenheim had a big showing with VTL and Nordost and just had a great room on the ground floor. And so after the show, we grabbed the speakers, we brought them here. 500 pounds each, maybe 160, 180 pounds for those stands and feet alone. So nearly 700 pounds of speaker sitting right here. Easily one of my favorite speakers ever. The Ultime 3 is a bigger speaker that I one day hope to have here. But right now I'm overjoyed about the Ultime 2s. And Jasmin knows a heck of a lot about them, so I'm going to let her take over.
Well, first it should be said that this is also one of my favorite speakers that we have in the shop as well. I love coming in here and playing my own music that I love listening to when everyone else is gone, and hear it like I've never heard it before. And there's a few things that contribute to that. So first of all, you cannot start a review or conversation about these speakers without talking about these boxes that they are in, because this is a 1/2 inch thick aluminum on all sides. And you know, people think that because of aluminum, one of the first things I hear people say is, doesn't it ring because it's aluminum?
Yeah.
And it doesn't, because once aluminum is to a certain thickness, it's actually self-dampening and becomes inert. So this cabinet, and you can tell just by feeling it and touching it, there is no resonance in this cabinet.
Right.
But you know, Stenheim didn't stop there. They went a step further, and with some fancy electronics, they have determined any areas within the cabinet that still do have some resonance, and so there is damping material on the inside of those parts as well.
Okay. So if there is a resonance happening because of a driver, they're going to add damping
They
where
will.
in other places just the thickness of the metal
That's
is
right.
kind of, okay.
That's right, yes.
All right.
Now the baffle, if you can see up here, is actually thicker than the rest of the cabinet, and at the thickest point, it's just under 2 inches thick.
Oh, wow.
Again, this is solid aluminum.
I bet that's 80 pounds.
I'm sure it could be at least, and I remember kind of helping lifting them up. They're extremely heavy. The other thing that's on the inside of the cabinets, I wish I had one to show to see what it looked like, but there are these proprietary custom-built joining components that affix to the inside of the cabinet and is highly, highly adjustable. So what that does is allow all of these joints within this cabinet to come together, to join together.
And they tighten it down.
And they tighten it down. So you can picture this device that has different ways of adjusting it, and it just brings the cabinet joints together.
So you get a sealed box, but then I'm sure they seal it in other ways?
They do.
Okay.
So yes, all the seams are sealed as well.
All right. So we have 2 ports on this thing, centrally located by the tweeter. Now, speaking of the tweeter and its positioning, as you can see, this is a Diapolito configuration, and these are 12-inch drivers. So top and bottom are 12-inch, dual mid-range, and of course the silk dome tweeter. And Stenheim has these, I think they're made for Stenheim, but then they do something
With the drivers?
Yeah.
Yes. So first, all the drivers, other than silk dome tweeter, of course, are pulp paper drivers.
Okay.
But every driver in here is custom to this specific speaker. So even if you're looking at a different Stenheim speaker and they look like they're the same drivers, they are not.
Okay.
And the reason they did that was to be able to tune this box with these drivers to get the best sound before even thinking about crossovers.
Okay.
So that way when they're putting the crossover in, they don't have this huge crossover that has all these components, because of course anything that gets in the way of the signal path is going to
degrade sound.
Is going to degrade sound. So by doing that, by having custom drivers that are specific for each cabinet, they're able to use the least amount of components in the crossovers possible.
Oh, nice. Okay, so this is an Ultime 2 woofer.
It is an Ultime 2 woofer.
Mid-range and tweeter.
That's right.
So, and I know that once these are made, they have some special proprietary process where they dope the speakers there at the Stenheim factory. Now, in getting into the looks and the face of the cabinet, one thing that is pretty hard to tell if you don't have a chance to see these in person, one takeaway I'd like you to have is just how precision and how well done everything is. So it's not a smooth surface. It's a sandblasted aluminum finish that has these just minute little sparkles in it. And then the beveling on the cabinets, I mean, it's just, this is precision engineering, Swiss engineering.
That's right.
Yeah.
And I'm glad you mentioned the beveling on the cabinets, because it's not just aesthetics. So this cabinet is curved on the front for a very specific purpose. And so as the frequencies are coming out of the driver, this baffle is folding away from the front of it and allowing the least amount of reflection possible.
Okay.
The other thing is, as we all know, and it might be hard to tell from the camera because it's very subtle, but this Diabolito array is off-center. You can see it's adjusted inward slightly. And the reason is also to reduce reflection from the front baffle. So even just this small adjustment over toward the center allows for less surface for reflection from the frequencies as they're leaving the drivers.
When we had to set these up, this is a 500-pound speaker. This is probably 180 pounds of stand. And so this is the aftermarket stand, or this is an add-on stand. So this mechanism does not come with the speaker unless it's an option. So
it's a good option.
It is. You know, the Illumine 5 SEs have the regular feet. We saw that at Munich they came out with the black version, and they've made these stands for the Illumine 5 SE. So I think those are going to be in our future.
Getting these into position without those stands, they were tremendously helpful.
Yeah.
Getting these dialed in and tuned up.
Yeah. So, and to that end, we had our local strongman, Frank, friend of the shop, came in and helped us. I think there were 4 people already here, and then Frank came in, and we got one up. And we were all kind of looking at the second one saying,
do we really have to do another one?
Yeah, do we have to do another one? Do we have to do it today? And out of nowhere, a friend of the shop, her boyfriend stopped by to pick up an HDMI cable. And as soon as I saw him, I said, hey, buddy, you want a free HDMI cable? Come here. And so thankfully, Bart, thank you, 6'4" guy, came in and helped us get the second one up. It probably wouldn't have been done that day without him. So Bart, thank you.
Thank you, Bart. It was exactly what we needed at that moment.
Yeah. Yep. So so in the setup, and you can see here on camera, we still haven't taken the casters off. But basically what you do is you put the casters on so that you can wheel them into position and get them placed and do the fine tuning that, you know, we do when we set up speakers. But once that's done, then you deploy the legs and the feet to the speaker and to the stand. And so what that did is that gave us probably a 15 to 20% performance improvement.
And so what it is too is on the bottom of the foot is a spike.
Okay.
And then underneath the spike is the cup that it sits on.
Right. Okay. Yeah. And so what it did for us is we didn't realize, relatively speaking, the bass had been muddy. The mid-range had been a little muddy. Now, we didn't hear this. We only realized it after we heard the difference, because now we had rounded bass and mid-range notes. Now everything just came into absolute focus. So what we had already thought was great was made significantly better. So you look at where we were, and we were saying, this is one of the most natural, one of the most wonderful speakers we've ever had in the shop, and then we made it better.
And that was a real testament to making sure that your speaker is properly grounded to the floor as well.
Right. Yeah.
Because it could be a detail that people maybe don't think is so important. It really is, because that bass tightened up pretty significantly.
Oh yeah. Well, and that's the thing is, so spikes help to decouple. And it doesn't matter what speaker it is. You know, there is a natural resonance that everything is going to have. But when you don't put the spikes down and you put it on carpet, you put it on a hardwood floor, what you're actually doing is joining that speaker to the floor, and the floor is absorbing some of that. So by putting it on a stand and on legs, it allows the speaker to resonate the way it's supposed to without external forces damping the cabinet, damping the speaker. So, you know, anyone at home, deploy the spikes, deploy the cups, do what you have to, because you can get better sound that way. And this was the easiest way to prove it I've ever seen. you know, to sum this up, and we're going to do some subsequent videos where we do some listening tests, and I'd like to use the Kurt Towne album for some of our listening tests, because the last track on that album is a Southern rock cover of Let It Be.
When I find myself in times of trouble, Mother Mary comes to me, speaking words of wisdom, let it be.
And I prefer it. I prefer it to the original. It's
It's a great track.
It's like if Lynyrd Skynyrd were doing Let It Be. I mean, it's just so moving. It's so good. So anyways, but I wanted to point out, so, you know, Swiss precision, the beauty of these lines, the quality of everything, these red stripes, this is almost, it's an identifying marker to me, almost like the angles of Eggleston's speakers are. It's immediately identifying. But what's cool is you can get these in gold. You can get these speakers in black. There are all kinds of, there are several different colors and several different treatments. You can even have a leather, I don't know what it's called, but
Like a fascia.
Yeah.
Fascia.
Yeah,
I'm not
put
sure
on.
the right
It's,
way to say that word.
and it's like semi-alcantine. I forget the name of it, but whatever. You can add leather to this if you need it to blend into one of your rooms. Now, the other thing that you should know is that while this is up in the reference series for Stenheim, the Illuminate 5 SEs, the Illuminate 3s, the 2.5s that just came out in November of last year, they all have that Stenheim sound. Mm-hmm. So there's a sound to Stenheim that's present all the way up and down the chain. It is the Stenheim sound, and that is one of the most natural, one of the the easiest to listen to speakers. It almost, of course you want to dial them in, but even if your placement is inexact, you still get great audio. But gosh, when you do dial them in, it's a whole new world. But this is probably one of my favorite speakers for the ease of getting it into a room and listening to music.
Mm-hmm. And I'm glad you talked about the other models, because somebody might look at this and say, I can never have something like this. I will never have this sound. But that it's so true that this Stenheim sound is true across the other models in the line. There is a signature sound.
Yep.
So, depending on the size of your room, you probably wouldn't even be able to use this in there.
Yeah.
And that's why we have these smaller options as well.
Yep. So the Illuminate 2.5s they stand about this tall. Mm-hmm. You normally can hear them here, but actually my father stole them and took them home. So I've got to get them back from him.
It's going to be hard to do. He's pretty.
I'm going to have to
attached
dangle. I'm going to have to dangle a different speaker in front of him.
Yeah.
But and then we also have the Illuminate 5 SEs here. Those are the ones that won us Best Sound and Show by the Absolute Sound at the Florida Audio Expo. Mm-hmm. And you may see us at Capitol Audio Fest this year, maybe with a bigger Stenheim. Mm-hmm. So thank you for watching. Please stay tuned. Like and subscribe to our channel. It makes me feel good. And we'll keep you up to date with the goings on of the shop. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.